Welcome to josephsmithspolygamy.org, the audio version. Lucinda Pendleton, sealing date unknown. Lucinda was born September 27, 1801, and married renowned anti-Mason William Morgan in 1819. Morgan was apparently murdered 7 years later, and Lucinda married George Washington Harris in 1830. The Harris family was baptized in 1834, and by March 1838 was living in Far West Missouri, where George served on the High Council of the state. Joseph Smith visited Far West from the latter part of October or 1st of November until shortly after November 10, 1837, and probably met the Harrises at that time. He returned 5 months later with Emma and his children. Joseph Smith's diary records, "On the 14th day of March, 1838, as we were about entering Far West, many of the brethren came out to meet us, who also with open arms welcomed us to their bosoms. We were immediately received under the hospitable roof of Brother George W. Harris, who treated us with all possible kindness, and we refreshed ourselves with much satisfaction after our long and tedious journey. The Smiths stayed with the Harrises for 2 months. Both families relocated to Nauvoo by the early 1840s. Lucinda Pendleton left no records. Consequently, questions arise concerning the reliability of the data corroborating her sealing to Joseph Smith and its timing. Not all historians agree that a connubial relationship was formed. Richard Lloyd Anderson and Scott H. Fallring wrote, "The claim that Lucinda was sealed to Joseph Smith is not based on impressive evidence." Supportive documentation includes Lucinda's proxy sealing to Joseph Smith, performed in the Nauvoo Temple on January 22, 1846, and a ceremony that was repeated completely vicariously in the Salt Lake Temple in 1899. But several of the women who participated in proxy sealings to the prophet in the Nauvoo Temple were not married to him while he was living. For example, Cordelia Callista Morley turned down a sealing proposal from the prophet during his lifetime, but was sealed to him vicariously in the Nauvoo Temple on January 27, 1846. Evidence for a sealing in Nauvoo during Joseph's lifetime is non-existent. No affidavits from witnesses or other participants have been found. In mid-July 1840, George, Lucinda's legal husband, was sent on a mission to travel eastward collecting funds and materials for church publications. He left soon after July 25, labored for a year in the eastern states, especially New York, then returned home in September 1841. Whether Lucinda and Joseph were sealed during his absence, later in his presence, or not at all is undocumentable. A few authors have written that Lucinda Pendleton Morgan Harris apostatized and joined a Catholic convent in the 1860s, but the evidence supporting this is problematic. In contrast, Masonic historian William Leon Cummings wrote in 1934, "At some time prior to 1853, Mrs. Harris separated from her husband, for in 1856 Mr. Harris petitioned for a divorce on the grounds that his wife had willfully deserted him and without reasonable cause absented herself for more than the space of 3 years. Recently discovered evidences prove that she died at the home of her daughter, Mrs. Lucinda Wesley Smith, in Memphis, Tennessee in 1856. While Lucinda physically removed herself from the main body of the saints to live with her daughter in the early 1850s, her feelings toward the faith and Joseph Smith prior to her death are unknown.